Hey everybody, welcome to Takeoff with John Clark. We appreciate you listening. And Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network's best analyst. Love listening to him talk draft because you put in so much work studying the tape, just like you did when you were a scout with the Eagles and in your other jobs in the NFL. So we appreciate you joining us again because we're on it now.
Well, I've got a situation now where I only do interviews in cabanas at casinos. Yeah. So that's where we are right now,
Well,
John.
Thanks for actually allowing us in there. We can have drink service then? I love it. Well, you're a stud, man.
No, I appreciate you, buddy.
You're doing great with this, the NFL draft every single year, and that's why I value your opinion, and I think Philadelphia does. So when you were on with us last month, you said, there's no way they're making all three picks in the first round. Boom, Howie makes the trade. You saw that coming?
I didn't see that particular trade coming at that time, but I thought there's no way once we get here and they're on the clock that they're going to select three guys in the first round. There's no chance. And I knew they wanted to get something for next year. So they're able to get that accomplished much earlier than I anticipated.
And this is pretty amazing because they have two picks in the top 20 for the first time in 49 years. You can't mess this one up.
Yeah.
They did well in last year's draft. Right now, just gut instinct, you're putting it on your mock draft. Who you saying the Eagles get with those two picks in the first round?
Well, I'm going to say that they probably don't stick in those same two spots. You know, that's just kind of the way they do business. So it's going to be hard to predict. But, you know, I look at a couple different players and positions. You know, maybe there's a chance that Kyle Hamilton gets to them, who I think is one of the top 5 players in this draft. I'd run the card up. The safety from Notre Dame would fill a need for him, and he's a premier player. And I also look at the corner position. I think there's going to be some value there. Maybe it's Trent McDuffie, you know, from Washington. You put him opposite Slay. You've got two rock-solid corners then that you could play with. And those are kind of the positions. I know edge rusher, you'd love to get an edge rusher. It's going to come down to me whether or not they like Karlaftis. If they like Karlaftis, then that could be one of their picks. But I think the other guys are gone.
All right, so looking at their drafts over the last 20 years, they haven't taken a safety in forever. Yeah. And then the last corner they took was 20 years ago, Lito Shepherd.
What about linebacker?
Linebacker, we got to go back to, were we even born in the 70s?
That's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a while. So I honestly got to think, because all they do in the first round is draft offensive linemen, defensive linemen, quarterbacks, and now receivers. Receivers. So what do you think the probability is that they go D-line or receiver or receiver?
I actually think there's a greater chance they go receiver than D-line. Chris Olave is a name I think that could be there. I also think there's a chance we see these receivers just fly off the board. It's been kind of the off-season of receivers. When you look at what these guys have got paid, you look at the trades, they've all kind of migrated up the board. So, you know, I would say Olave would be a chance there. That could be the pick. It could be Olave versus Karlaftis. That could be the choice.
Yeah. How about Jameson Williams? We're hearing a lot of noise.
Long gone.
Long gone.
Not sniffing him. No chance.
Top 10.
I think
Jets?
He's going to go in the top 10 to 12 picks. Yeah.
Okay, so if Howie Roseman's sitting there, and he got a sense last year he had to jump over the Giants, working with the Cowboys to get that 10th pick to get Devontae Smith, do you think that he could make a move for a guy like Jameson Williams?
I would not rule it out. I mean, I think you have certain guys you target, and they have the ability with all these picks to be aggressive. So if you feel like that's the guy and there's a big drop-off after that, they're not hesitant to be aggressive and go get a guy. So, you know, I look at them moving up for potentially Jameson Williams. I look at them if maybe, you know, London or Garrett Wilson were to kind of drop a little bit. I could see them moving for any of those receivers. And I could also see them, if Kayvon Thibodeau starts to slide a little bit, be aggressive and go get him.
All right, so if you're putting, like, odds on it, what position do you think they're getting? If you're number one odds.
Yeah. If I'm saying that they're sticking, right, and they're not trading, I'm going to say corner is going to be their first pick. I'm going to say if they are aggressive, which is in their DNA, then I would say edge rusher is going to be their pick.
Okay. Edge rusher obviously fills a need. Receiver fills a need. Corner fills a need. So, I mean, obviously you can get what you want here. Do you think they're going to come away, though, with two players who can be impact players in the NFL?
They should. I mean, when you look at where they're picking, there are 20 impact players in this draft. So if you've got 2 picks in the top 20, stands the reason you should come away with 2 impact guys.
You're better at math than I was. So all right, I just figured that out. So is that what you think? 20 impact players is what you're seeing?
Yeah, to me, there's 11 or 12 guys that are separate, you know, that are kind of in their own tier. And then after that, I think there's another group of about 10 guys in that mix I think are just rock solid players.
So if you do have 20 impact players, do you think it's less likely that they trade back with 18 or one of those picks?
I would say at this point in time, and it all is fluid, it all can change, I feel like they would probably be more likely to move up than to move back.
Okay. And when you look at what they've been trying to do at receiver, obviously they want to give Jalen Hurts the best possible thing that they can so that he can succeed. They tried to trade for Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
They put in offers for some of these free agent receivers, but my goodness, the market just blew
Crazy.
up.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by how far that got?
You know what? It's interesting. It's become just this incredibly important position, and I think a lot of it can be traced back just to this last year. When you look at Jamar Chase and going there, and that was that big debate, right? Do you take the tackle? Do you take the receiver? And that was like a litmus test. And you said, okay, this guy changed their football team. You know, you get a dynamic player right there, change your football team. So the price has gone up, and teams are now sitting there saying, man, you know, if you don't get it in the draft, you got to get it in free agency. Well, okay, if I don't get a linebacker or, you know, a safety, what we were talking about earlier, or you could talk about a guard, I can go into free agency and fill that. I really don't want to go pay a receiver $25 million a year in free agency, so it's a lot easier for me to just draft him.
So you made that great point when the last time we sat down a month ago that this is a way, if you go receiver as well in the first round again, you've got Devontae Smith and this receiver under contract for 5 years.
Yeah, dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Dirt cheap. I mean, I always, you know, it's the name that we talked about last time, but when you look at Justin Jefferson's contract, he makes $3 million a year.
Wow.
So you think about, I love Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's a good player. Is Christian Kirk $17 million more valuable?
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jefferson's a much better player. So financially, it's a strong argument to take a wideout.
That's a tremendous point about where you're allocating your dollars. So if you're looking at this draft, the Eagles, Howie Roseman talked about this is not 1 or 2 players away this year. It's almost like a 2-year retool. We never used the word rebuild with Howie, right? You said.
Of course.
But 2 years. So are you thinking with this draft and what they got last year and adding in some free agents that this team can be back in contention?
Yeah, I mean they're right there right now. I mean inside this division for sure. Now when you widen it out inside, you know, to the conference and then trying to chase a championship, they're pieces away. But I think just more impact. I talk about blue players, right? Those blue chip players, those real difference makers. You go back to that Eagles Super Bowl team. There's probably 12, 10 to 12 real blue players, difference making players. Talking about top 5 type players at their position. They're short on that right now. So to me, that's something they've got to continue to chase down here over the next 2 years.
And obviously you've got Fletcher Cox on the last year of a deal, Brandon Graham. You never know after this coming season what's going to happen. So you got to look at maybe a push up the middle. Javon Hargrave as well.
Yeah, Hargrave's a stud, by the way. I always feel like, and this is, from a national standpoint, everybody talks about Fletch, and this could be Fletcher's last year, and Fletcher might be a Hall of Famer. He's had an unbelievable career. Javon Hargrave's freaking good. Like, he is really good. So let's not forget he's still there. Like, the cupboard's not going to be bare here. I think he's got some good football left. Yeah. So, but Jordan Davis, if he was there, would be pretty fun.
All right, now it's interesting because a lot of people say Jordan Davis doesn't necessarily have the stats to back it up, push up the middle.
It's ignorant. I don't care. To me, when they say, he came off the field on third downs, and you look at the play count stuff, the guy that they've got there, Jalen Carter, is number 88. He's going to be a top 5 pick next year. Okay, this guy's not coming off the field for Johnny Tryhard to get some extra reps. Like, they rolled all these guys through and won a national championship because they kept everybody fresh. Just because he didn't get as many opportunities doesn't mean he can't do it. He's a physical freak who plays hard. They're hard to find. It's hard to find guys that big and that athletic. He reminds me of Hainsworth when Hainsworth was young in this league and was a dominating player.
So when you look at this draft and where the Eagles are sitting, do you think it helps that it looks like there's going to be a lot of offensive tackles that go? How do you think the board is going to play out? Does it play into the Eagles' favor trying to get one of their needs?
Well, I think those top tackles are going to be gone. The challenge is going to be if you really want one of those wideouts. I think we could see that wideout run for reasons we've already discussed. But, you look at some of those other positions. I just think when they're sitting there on the clock, if they don't move, I think a guy like McDuffie's going to be the highest graded player that's there at that point in time. He's a really, really good football player. I don't think he goes before they pick.
So Jalen Hurts going into this year, all eyes are going to be on him. And if they're able to get a young receiver, do you think you've seen enough from Jalen improving each year, being in a different system in his couple spots in college, then in the NFL? Do you think that he'll continue to improve?
He should. I mean, getting comfortable in this system, I think you'll see him. But that's what they've done, is they've kind of protected themselves next year with some extra picks. So, man, you're wishing and hoping that this is the case, that he continues to take that next step. And if he does, that's fantastic. You can support him with these extra picks. And if for some reason you don't see a progression, then you've left yourself some options.
And also, when you look at this year's draft and you look at the possibility of the players coming out next year, I mean, are you looking at quarterbacks going 1 and 2 next year?
Well, Alabama's got an edge rusher that's better than anybody in this whole draft. It's coming back to school. So a lot of that's going to kind of depend on who's picking up there and what they need. But I mentioned the defensive tackle from Georgia, a couple quarterbacks. So I haven't done a ton of work on that group next year, but there's some name brand dudes in next year's class.
But does Howie and the Eagle staff, do they look ahead and they say, okay,
absolutely.
we see what is also coming out next year, and then those 2 quarterbacks coming out, Bryce Young and Stroud. So they're –
and there's going to be others. I mean, we weren't talking about Joe Burrow at this point in time going into his final season. We weren't talking about Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray at that point in time either. So there's going to be other players that emerge through the process. But just what we know so far, it looks like a strong group.
So when we see this draft play out, are there going to be a lot of surprises? Because I think everybody says they kind of know who the top 20,
we know the
18,
names, but we don't know where the heck they're going.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what's so unique about this one.
Is it becoming more and more like that with the draft?
You know, if it does feel like it, you know, more recently. Usually when you have quarterbacks, it just shapes the draft and defines it, and you can kind of fill in around it. When you don't know what's going to take place or if any of these quarterbacks are going to go, you kind of lose your pillars. I guess we're here looking at all these pillars. Like you have those pillars, you kind of build around them. It's hard to do that when you don't know what's going on with the quarterbacks.
Before we let you go, I know you want to enjoy this nice suite you have here in Vegas. Any funny stories, anything from your days in Philly that or something that defined you, or a lesson you learned, or a funny story?
Yeah,
something that
I
happened?
wish I could give you a really funny story. I mean, I don't know if I told you the one before about Polk. You remember the running back?
Chris Polk?
Chris Polk.
Yeah.
So it's after the draft, and my job that year was to help recruit the undrafted free agents for the running backs that we were going to bring in. So I was paired up with Deuce. So it was me and Deuce, and we got to tag team these running backs. So we identified him. We really liked him. We weren't going to take him, but we wanted to bring him as a free agent. So we're calling him in the 7th round saying, we've got huge grades on you, but we're not drafting a running back. So, you know, you're our top guy. We want to bring you in, yada, yada, yada. So while we're talking to him on the phone, he goes, you guys just took Bryce Brown. And me and Deuce look at each other and we go, what? Like, we were outside the draft room. We didn't know this has happened. It's like, no, we have more. And we're like scrambling. What do we do? And he didn't want anything to do with us. And so we're just like, we got to keep him on the phone. So then finally Deuce gets a great idea. Let's just go get Andy. So this kid is not coming to Philly. He doesn't want to come there. We just drafted a running back. So we walk down to Coach Reed's office and we go, Coach, we've got Chris Polk on the phone. We're trying to get him, but he doesn't want to come. Andy just calmly takes the phone. He goes, Chris, can I talk to your mom? First thing he says. And it was 30 seconds later, he was a Philadelphia Eagle. Yeah.
The Andy Reid touch, huh?
That was the touch. He's just that's Andy though. He was sitting there saying, "You guys are talking to the wrong guy." Yeah.
Call in the closer, Andy Reid.
Yes,
that's awesome.
There you go.
That's good stuff. Well, they both wound up having.
They both played. They both had careers. So for that point in the process, again, not the sexiest name, but it was me and Deuce were sweating bullets there. It was pretty funny.
Got to close this one.
Yeah. Andy had to save the day.
That's great. Well, hey, you have been working your butt off, and we appreciate you taking the time again to let Philly know about all the things you're learning about the draft. So it's going to be wild.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be wild.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
What are your nerves like going into this draft? What's going through your mind?
Just a whole lot of excitement, really. That's the main thing I can say right now. I'm just excited to be here, excited to hear my name get called tomorrow. I'm just excited for the whole experience, really.
Do you watch the reports or see the reports on the internet or the TV?
I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I'm too busy working to pay attention to the internet.
A lot of people say that the Eagles have their eye on you and would love to be able to draft you.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. I've been keeping in contact with the Eagles. We had a visit at a couple of Zooms, so that went well.
How did the visit go?
It was good. They told me they'd love to see me alongside Devontae. I think that would be a great explosive offense and just something that no one's seen before. We complement each other very well, so I think that would be good.
Did you watch Devontae's game or study anything about him when you were going to Alabama?
Yeah, I watched him. That's really how I learned the offense, watching him make the plays through the film. So that was really kind of the same plan they had for me. So everything went well, and when I watched him, it just helped me a lot.
Would that be pretty wild if you were playing with Devontae and Jalen Hurts, who also came from Alabama?
Yeah, that would be wild, playing with two people who came from the same college as me. In the NFL, because everybody don't play the same NFL team; they go to college together. So that would be dope.
Who did you meet with when you met with the Eagles? Was anybody special? Like, did anybody stop by and say hi to you? Any players or anything?
Nah, no players was in town. Yeah.
How about, did you meet with Coach Nick Sirianni?
I ain't even gonna lie. I don't even remember. I don't remember that part.
Yeah. Did you get to eat anything in Philadelphia?
Yeah, we had this little place on the Army base or something.
Okay.
I forget what it was called though. Yeah.
So you've kept in touch even after the in-person. Did you do Zooms after that, or were the Zooms before?
No, it was before. Yeah, we haven't talked since then.
You do get the sense, though, they kind of told you that they would like to draft you?
Yeah.
How exciting would that be with the fan base of Philadelphia and NFC East football?
It would be good. I heard the Philly fans go crazy. A lot of my friends is actually Philly fans, so that would be great.
How did they become Philly fans?
I don't know. They just like Philly. Probably Mike Vick.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Who were your guys that you watched growing up that you said, I want to be like him?
Randy Moss, for sure. That was the main one.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how's your knee doing?
Everything's going good. I'm ahead of schedule with the rehab, and it's just going good. Getting back to myself, really.
When do you think you'll be able to play?
I'm not sure. It's something that I won't rush, so I'm not really sure.
Final question for you. At what age did you start dreaming that this could be a possibility?
When I first started playing, I was 6 years old. That was my goal. I wanted to go to the NFL. I didn't want to do nothing else. I was going to go to the NFL.
It's got to be an amazing feeling that you're almost there.
Sir.
Are you the best receiver in this draft?
Yeah, no question.
If you didn't have the knee injury, do you think like you would be like top 5?
Yeah, I feel like everybody know that though, honestly.
So you visited Philly. How did that go?
It went real good, man. Got a lot of good vibes from the coaching staff, from the GM. So just being Philly, never been. So it was a great trip overall, and I liked it out there.
Did you get to meet any players? Anybody stop by and say hi to you?
No, I ain't meet no players. The building was kind of empty. It was a lot of coaching staff in there, a lot of staff in there. I met a lot of staff, so it was good vibes all around, and I enjoyed my time there.
You were able to talk with Nick Sirianni, the head coach. How'd that go?
Oh yeah, it went good, man. He's a good coach, a good person as well. We had a really good conversation, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future.
They give you any idea that they have a good amount of interest in you?
Yeah, I keep that behind closed doors, but it was good vibes. Like I said, it was great vibes in there, and I can't wait to see where I go tomorrow.
How about Philadelphia? Do you envision what it would be like to play in front of passionate football fans like that and with an offense like they have?
I heard the fan base is really good out there, and they have a lot of pride in their team in Philly. And it's just to be in that offense, a young offense and a great defense, and be besides Devontae Smith will be huge. So, like I said, I'm enjoying the process, and I can't wait for tomorrow.
Have you watched Devontae's game or studied anything about him?
I watched a lot of his game, especially his last year in college. How he attacked the game, how he approached the game of football. That really stood out to me. So, just his blocking, everything he does in the whole game. I could tell he loves the game so much. So just having that in the back of my head as I go into it tomorrow, he definitely kind of has that mindset that I want to develop in the league.
All right, and we are now joined by NFL analyst Charles Davis. And Charles, it is beautiful out here in Vegas, but we are working out here. And I wanted to ask you, because Philly would like to know, 15 and 18, your mock draft, who do you have the Eagles getting?
Well, I think they're going to take a quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh,
just
don't
kidding.
start that
Just
again.
kidding, right? Getting everybody all up in arms over that one. No, truth of the matter is, my third mock draft, my final one, you're going up and down the board, the whole deal. I still believe strongly that wide receiver is going to be one of those two choices. And I think corner, if a good corner is available, fits the bill for them. I know linebacker always comes up. The reason I don't put a linebacker there at all, even though Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, those guys probably would be available, they just haven't shown it over the years. This crew, Howie Roseman and people, linebacker, someone you get later. So here's the big reveal. Would you be okay with Jameson Williams from Alabama at 15, the wide receiver, and Andrew Booth, the corner from Clemson at 18? That's what I put in my final mock.
I think Philly would be
Final
happy with
answer.
That.
How's that?
All right. I won't go ask you what your first and second mock drafts were.
It was something similar. It was something very similar to that, where it was a wide receiver and a corner. I might have had a D lineman in there. Might have had a Devontae Wyatt in there because Fletcher Cox with another 1-year deal and pressure on the quarterback. Might have done that before, but this is what I settled on for this one.
So, is it okay to take a receiver for 3 straight years in the first round, considering they did try to add one in free agency or tried to trade for Calvin Ridley and couldn't get it done?
It absolutely is okay to do it for this reason. This is a referendum on the quarterback. This is Jalen Hurts. You can say he's your guy. You can talk about it. You can do it. But this season certainly feels like he is or he's not. And I don't mean to put it in a bad way with the young man. I love him, and I love the gifts that he brings to the table. But that trade with New Orleans certainly felt like, hey, let's get a set two number ones next year in case we like the quarterback crop and we can evaluate them there. Smart move by Philadelphia. But the reason you do it is to give him the best opportunity to succeed. Give him another guy outside. Devontae Smith sure worked out pretty well. Jury's out on Jalen Reagor. This young man comes in, gives him another target, another guy to play with, play pitch and catch. I like it. And by the way, everybody's going to say Alabama. And that wasn't the same, right? What to say, Jameson Williams came later from Ohio State.
So Jameson Williams obviously injured.
Yeah.
But when you are able to line up Devontae Smith and Jameson Williams for years to come, what do you think of that young core?
Love it.
And you've got them controlled financially because you're seeing this wide receiver market go crazy now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, nowadays we've been talking about the 5-year quarterback with that extra year on the you're thinking about it with receivers now. When you get the top ones, what are you going to do? How are you going to pay them? I just love what those guys bring to the table because Devontae Smith, elite route runner, finds his ways open. We always were talking about the Slim Reaper and can he hold up? I don't think we have any more questions about that anymore. And Jameson Williams coming off of injury, the reports are that he's ahead of schedule. The reports are that he has a very good chance of being ready for the season. This guy can flat out go. 4 plays last year, over 70 yards. This is what you want. You've got to stretch people, push them deep, and allow your guys to work underneath. You know who really approves that? Dallas Goedert. He's going to love that. It gives him a chance to work in underneath roles.
And Nick Sirianni, he loves his receivers being a receiver himself and a receivers coach. So I think you want to give him what he wants. And you get the sense that Jeff Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, they want a dynamic passing attack.
Yeah.
They like running the ball, but they want that dynamic passing attack.
This is not new stuff in Philadelphia. Joe Banner is the GM. Andy Reid is the head coach. Now here we are with Nick Sirianni and crew. Throwing the football is their base. I did a number of Buffalo games last year. Brian Daboll, now the head coach of the Giants. He just told me point blank, how we used to hide about throwing the ball and all. He said point blank, we are a passing team and we sprinkle in the run. That's how Buffalo operated. I'm not saying Philadelphia is Buffalo because you run it pretty darn well with Miles Sanders and crew. But at the same time, like Jerry Glanville used to say, you run the ball to set a tone, but when you want to ring that bell, you got to throw it. And that's where we are.
Yeah, and it is a passing league. So interesting that you go cornerback with that other pick, Andrew Booth, because I looked up for the Eagles. The last time they took a corner in the first round, it was 20 years ago, Lito Shepherd. And since then, they've basically taken offensive, defensive line, quarterback, or receiver. They want those premium positions. So if there is a defensive end, edge rusher, pass rusher there, you think they still go corner? Or do you think they want that guy to get after the quarterback?
I think if that guy is there, the pass rusher, and they have a better grade on him, because that's the one thing we always have to keep in mind. What does their board tell them? Because you want your board set to take the emotion of the night out. When all of a sudden this guy shows up and I got to have him. This guy's, I got to have him. You want that out. What does that tell you? The reason I went corner there is I think a lot of those guys will be gone, first and foremost. The second part is the way Jonathan Gannon has played his defense. That heavy zone concept. You need a guy opposite Darius Slay, a playmaker who'll make plays on the ball when it comes downfield. That's Andrew Booth at Clemson. He played a lot of that. When you see him, we say that press bail technique, where he's had eyes back into the quarterback side, shuffle, see the play, make a play on the ball. The way the game's going, balls are going to be downfield. Plays are going to have to be made. The way Jonathan Gannon calls defense, it kind of fits what Andrew Booth does. But I think your question is a correct one. And if an elite guy slips down there, they're going to do their homework. They may have to take him.
Yeah, and Howie Roseman has been known to trade up.
Yep.
He's also been known to trade back. So I've heard people say they only see 15 to 20 actual first-round grades in this draft? What are you thinking when you see that?
I've heard that as well, and each team has their own evaluation system, but I don't think that's unusual. I think that is more the norm about how guys are graded, like who's a true first rounder, even though I'm going to pick a guy in the first round. It's just interesting to hear them actually say it, because at the end of every draft, no matter what city you go to, when the GM steps up to the podium, that's exactly who we wanted. We got the guy we were looking for. So to say there's only 15 to 20, and you're picking 31, then that can't be who you wanted. So why would it be said?
So you think Jameson Williams will be there at 15, or do you think Howie might have to move up a couple spots like he did last year with DeMonte?
He may have to move up, but it just depends on how they come off the board, because it's a grouping. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, right? Jameson Williams. How do they come off the board, and where do they go? If there's going to be action, I think the action starts with the Jets at 10. Does someone try and get up ahead of them to get one of these receivers? That's where the fun kicks in.
Do you think it does help the Eagles that there's probably going to be a bunch of offensive tackles that go early on? And I think they're pretty good right now with the offensive line. Do you think that helps keep some of those receivers or DNs or corners there?
Absolutely, because you would expect 3 offensive linemen to be gone by then, maybe 4. Right in that grouping, because New Orleans at 16, that's a prime spot for a left tackle, because we know how New Orleans loves their offensive line. Teron Armstead now gone to Miami. Does that 4th offensive tackle, or if somehow, heaven forbid, a 3rd one slides down there, New Orleans I think they'd be racing to the podium. Or I don't know how we do it nowadays. You call it in, you teleport it, you do whatever, but they would get that pick in, and I'm sure us TV people would be like, too fast, hold on, hold on, we'll do it later.
Well, thank goodness we're back in person this year.
Yes.
So you were talking about Jalen Hurts, and if they get Jameson Williams, you do have some playmakers, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, you've got Miles Sanders, you've got a good offensive line. If I were to put you on the spot, do you think Jalen Hurts is the Eagles quarterback the following season after this year, or do you think that he is not going to be good enough to be a Super Bowl possibility at quarterback?
No, I think that he will be your quarterback next year. I do. I think that we're continue to surround
not 2022. We're talking next
2023.
Year.
Right. So being able to put that together, surround him with those people, continue to run the football, that offensive line doing it, he is going to continue to grow and improve. I say that he's going to be the quarterback. Remember, we're always looking for those guys. We're always trying to find another quarterback. Have you seen all those teams that we're going to go get I think when you got bird in the hand and you continue to improve, I'm betting on the young man.
Final question for you, because you get to meet with head coaches and quarterbacks. So when you met with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts for the games that you did in Philly this year, what are your impressions of them?
Thoroughly impressed in terms of I'm going to start with Jalen Hurts. I'm thoroughly impressed with both, but thoroughly impressed with Jalen Hurts because that young man carries himself like a pro. And one of the things that I keep telling people is undercovered is he is the son of a coach. How many times do we say that about so many other players, and for him it's more of an afterthought? That's not really the thing. He was raised on it. In the old days, you would have watched the video, the tape on the door of the refrigerator. That's how I watched it with my dad, who was a coach. This is how you did it. He was raised in the game. His dad coached him. He's played at a high level. Guy was Conference Player of the Year in the SEC and the Big 12. Okay, he understands how this works. Sirianni, everybody always wanted to go back to the early press conference and this and that. It's like, guys, winning press conference doesn't make it work. He grew in the job as well, and he grabbed that team with those flower analogies that everybody wanted to make fun of. Team figured it out, and they followed him. This guy continues to grow on the job as well. By the way, he was raised in the coaching profession too. Look at the brothers, look at the dad. He knows what he's doing.
And that's why kind of Jalen Hurts allows Nick to coach him hard, and they have that
If Jalen Hurts called his father and said, man, that coach is all over me, the father would hang up on him. Father's not listening to that. He's like, son, that's what he's there for. And Jalen understands that and responds to it well. He played for Nick Saban. You think he doesn't understand hard coaching? You think Nick Saban didn't talk to his quarterbacks? You know he did.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Philly again this coming year. We don't know what the schedule is going to
We always like
shake out.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's always great. It's such a great atmosphere. I hope we get multiple games there again as we did last year.
All right, great. Well, Vegas isn't bad either, so thanks for having us.
No, we'll take it. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right.